Good evening and assalamu alaikum. Viewers, today we have a very topical and interesting session regarding change leadership. Darwin said that it is not the strongest nor the most intelligent that survive, but the ones who are most adaptable. There is a study that the company longevity today in the S&P 500 companies is 20 years, and it will be reduced to only 12 years in 2027. And that will be because many of the companies will not be able to survive the change. And that is why change leadership is so important. And we have also a guest who is an expert on change management or change leadership, working with PepsiCo International. And we'll have a discussion with him on change leadership after a short introduction on change leadership is all about. So change leadership is the ability to influence and inspire action in others and respond with vision and agility during periods of growth, disruption, or uncertainty to bring about the needed change. Change leaders create or promote a changed vision, develop a plan for change, and manage resistance and conflict throughout the change process. The roles of change leaders include communicator, advocate, coach, liaison officer, and resistance manager. Now let us see what are the core skills required for change leadership. There are a few core skills that have been underlined by the leadership researchers or the gurus. They are lead and influence others, including peers and other leaders. And the change leaders must anticipate and respond to change with agility. The change leaders should also communicate effectively and collaborate with others. They must build trust with others and demonstrate empathy by putting people first. The change leaders must build and sustain momentum and remain focused in the midst of disruption. And they should build and hold the team and colleagues together. They should be motivated and empowered. The change leaders should also identify and overcome barriers to change with a focus on the big picture. And they should be willing to take risks, be creative, innovative, and decisive. And lastly, the change leaders should set the vision and bring others on board. Now let us see what makes a good change leaders. The traits or skills that we expect from a change leader is the communication skill. You must listen to what people are saying and make use of the storytelling to communicate and engage. End-to-end leadership, the change leaders must completely buy into the change and advocate for it with conviction at all stages. High emotional intelligence combined with authenticity. The change leaders must understand emotions of himself as well as the subordinate and peers, and should be able to react appropriately to the emotions of the subordinates and peers or even superiors. Resilience and agility. The change leaders must understand how to develop and demonstrate resilience and recoil back in the time of adversity. Strong networks and collaboration. The change leaders should leverage the power of networks and work collaboratively to derive best results. The John P. Cotter is the change leadership guru. He has a book called Leading Change that is considered to be the Bible for change leadership. His 8 steps model for change leadership are: first, step 1, creating an urgency. Step 2, forming a powerful guiding coalitions. Step 3, developing a vision and a strategy. Step 4, communicating the vision. Step 5, removing obstacles. Step 6, creating short-term wins. Step 7, consolidating gains. And the last step is anchoring change in the culture. So that's the small introduction of change leadership. So I must conclude saying that a leader has an entirely different vision to that of a manager. Managers fear change because it upsets their carefully structured way of life. But leaders embrace change because they know that change leads to new ways of growth and accomplishment. Now we'll call upon the guest that we have. He is none other than an expert change leader of PepsiCo. Since we have been talking about change leadership, the guest of today, who has led through many changes in some of the biggest multinational companies in the world, is Mr. Mohsin Mittu. Mr. Mohsin is currently leading revenue growth management function for PepsiCo's North American beverage businesses that represents $22 billion of annual revenue. At his current role, he is charged to build the best-in-class revenue growth management team for PepsiCo Beverage. Prior to PepsiCo, he worked with Anheuser-Busch InBev, the largest beverage company globally, where he led many transformational changes in his 10 years tenure. Two notable changes he led were changing price promotion practices that existed for hundreds of years to optimize revenue and lead market share growth, a change so big that even gained attention of Wall Street. And secondly, changing route to market for New York City distribution, where he led an operation of around 400 people. Mohsin has extensively traveled within USA to train hundreds of people in implementing these changes. Viewers, please welcome Mr. Mohsin Mittu.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Thank you very much for such a wonderful introduction. It is such an honor to be with you and to be able to talk to you and your viewers and really share about discussion of change leadership or any other questions as well. So thank you,
Mr. Mohsin Mittu, it is an honor or a privilege for all of us, for me in general, for Sublime Leadership, all members of Sublime Leadership, and for the viewers to have you in this session. I understand this is a office day of yours. Still, you have allocated some of your invaluable time for us. We remain ever grateful. So, without wasting any time, let us first listen to Mr. Mohsin Mittu's story. How did you rise to the position that you are in right at this moment?
Sure, sir. Absolutely. Let's talk about it. So, before I talk about my journey, I just wanted to give a little bit introduction about where I am a little bit more. So, for folks, many folks know Pepsi. They may not know what are some of the other brands we have as Pepsi. PepsiCo not only sells beverage, we also own one of the biggest brand of chips, the Frito-Lay chips. So folks that know Lay's chips, Doritos, Tocitos, those are our brands. And PepsiCo globally represents $67 billion of annual revenue. Just to give context to people who are watching, so they understand what PepsiCo is.
It's huge.
Yep, and just to give a context, the $67 billion annual revenue, that's about the size of the entire annual budget of Bangladesh. And the market cap, the valuation of the company, how valued the company is, it's about $180 billion, which would be about half the size of the Bangladesh's GDP, just for people to understand. As far as my story, I'm currently leading the revenue growth management function, as you said, sir. But I'm from Bangladesh. I grew up there, and I actually served in the Bangladesh Army for a little bit, not for very long. And I was a junior lieutenant and left Army, and then actually went to came to US for higher education. when I went to get my second bachelor degree, as you know, everybody had to get a bachelor degree from the military academy, which back then it was a 2 years program, which isn't really recognized anywhere, right, globally. So I came to the United States. I got my bachelor degree for the second time. For viewers who are really interested, I think, one of the things that people that come from Bangladesh often come here and ask people, what should I study? What should my career path be? Right? That's the question that people go through. And I went through the same, and I got a lot of advice saying, hey, study accounting or study computer science, because those are going to give you definitive career, right? You're going to be successful. And by the way, don't go near management, because people from Bangladesh will not be successful managers in the United States. Obviously, I didn't take that path. I didn't take those advice. I did what I liked. Now, when I spoke to folks in America, like the professors and staffs in the university, they say, study what you like. And I chose that path. I was very good at math, so I got my bachelor degree in math. And following my bachelor degree, I was thinking what to do. Was thinking about doing a master's program in finance. I was interested in finance. So I was accepted into a number of finance programs where I was offered full scholarship with actually, they would be paying money in addition to me paying to the university. But despite having those offers, I actually did not take them. I went to Washington University in St. Louis for my MBA, where the tuition fee was huge. It was $45,000 a year back then. For 2 years, that's like almost $100,000 just the tuition alone. Today it's like even $65,000, so it's a lot more expensive. I did have scholarship, and the university offered loans. The university offered guaranteed loans. Just for viewers to understand, I do not come from a rich family. When I'm throwing these numbers around, you might think that I come from some rich family. I do not. I had enough for me when I was a kid, but I never had this kind of money to be able to study in the United States. However, the courage that I had was to deny scholarship, to decline scholarship, and actually go on to taking a loan. The university was kind enough, not kind enough, I would say. They have programs. If the students are accepted in that university, they guarantee that they have funds, whether there's a scholarship or you get loans that you will be paying off later. Nonetheless, I don't want to make this part longer. I got my MBA, and then I started with this company, Anheuser-Busch InBev. And then from there, a lot of this traditional thinking that people from Bangladesh faces, I actually defied all of those, right? I went to management when people said, don't go for that. I took a massive amount of loan with having no background whatsoever, right, that people wouldn't want to do. And when I started at the company, one of the big challenge people from Bangladesh face in the United States is they think about back of their mind racism. They think about my color is not white, and therefore I'm not going to be successful. And for me, I never think about the color of people's skin. I think about work. I focus on work, and that's it. I don't differentiate between the country of origin or the university background and whatever. So I think, as I worked at the Anheuser-Busch, few things that I did that helped me succeed, helped me get to where I am today, is really always be willing to change, always be ready for a change, be always courageous, be always challenge the status quo, just not accept what's given to you. Always believe that you can do more. Always believe that you can do a lot if you have the determination, if you have the hard work, if you have the commitment, you can really achieve anything. And in this country, in the United States, it's a country of dream, really. You can be anything you want to be. And so, I followed those as my guiding principles through my experiences. I was fortunate to have a company, a culture where the company was willing to put bet on me. I'll give you an example. When I was hired, it was 2010. I started working, and I was recruited in 2009. For the viewers, if you recall, 2008, 2009, we had this global financial distress. And most of my MBA classmates were not finding jobs. And here I had a job in this company, and my chief financial officer of the company told me that some American people were asking him, why did you hire this guy where American people are without jobs? So just to get perspective, fortunately, I had that, the company was open to really going for the talent that they thought that was right for them. And I have got this opportunity. And ever since then, I never had to look back, right? I kept my head down and kept working. And with always, like I said, always taking the ownership. Whatever job I ever did, I owned what I did. And as a result, you keep performing and you get more and more role. And then that's how we progress.
So thank you, Mr. Mohsin. So may I ask the second question, because what I understand from your CV as well as from the discussion that you have got a passion for change and you're a connoisseur of change management or change leadership. Now, based on your experience, could you tell us a couple of experience of yours as to how easy or difficult the change management or change leadership was comparing with Bangladesh? How much was the change resistance, and kind of some experience that you could share with our viewers, please?
Absolutely. First of all, change is something that happens in life. That we know that technology is changing around us. We know our personal life has many changes, and actually, some of the example I think it will help people understand. I mean, if we think about like 30 years or 20 years ago, we used to have this camera like that you used to buy like Fujifilm or Kodak, right? Today, where are they? Nobody has those cameras, right? We all use digital camera, and even more importantly, today people use like cell phone, right? The camera that comes with the phone is what you use. So bottom line, change is a constant, right? But change is also scary. People are scared of change. So for me, like as you introduced, sir, there are a few big changes that I have led. One that I'm proud of a number of those. One that was very notable was how alcohol beverage promotions, price promotions are offered to consumers in the United States. It was, very inefficient. However, people were used to doing it and they're not willing to change. And when we identified this as an opportunity, just to give reference, at the time, our company was managing more than $1 billion of annual spend on promotion alone. And if you think about it, $1 billion, if you can improve the efficiency by even 1%, that's a huge amount of money that you can capture. So how do we show the vision of all the business holders, all the stakeholders that are there, saying, hey, if we can change, by the way, the world is changing. Consumers are changing. People are changing their behavior. So if we can change how we do things, we can actually make a lot more money, right? Because we are at the business of making money. So having a very clear vision and showing that what is the impact if you're able to change, how does it benefit you? What is the negative impact if you don't change? How does it hurt you? Yeah. Right? And then very clearly communicating that, okay, so here's my vision, here's the impact, right? And here's why you should change. One point in particular, I would say, is this is where the leading folks in United States is very different in that you really have to explain why. People want to know why. Unlike, maybe there are culture in companies or even in Bangladesh in some organization where you tell your people what to do and they do it. It doesn't work that way, especially in business and obviously in the US culture. People ask questions. So for me to take these changes, I needed to have very good story of why these changes was necessary. What are the stages through which we are going to lead this change? What are the barriers that we're going to face? Anticipate those and then prepare for them, right? And then obviously set a number of tools, right, so that we can train people what they needed to do. We can give them resources. And one in particular is when you are changing, you're talking about massive scale change or even small change, you are not alone. You have to have groups around you. You have to have team that are supporting, that believe in your vision and that are going to follow you. So how do you bring them along, right? And how do you, one of the things that you said, sir, was putting people first. And that is absolutely fundamental to do anything that you want to do, because people are business, right? Any company can have buildings and cars and trucks and whatnot, but a great company is comprised of great people with right attitude, with right vision, with right mentality, that working to improve whatever it is that they're trying to achieve.
Absolutely. Now, I understand that you had been leading teams, you had been leading organizations. Now you are in a very high positions. Now, this journey had not been always smooth, I understand. So, could you recount for the viewers some of the leadership challenges that you faced during the entire journey of your career?
Absolutely. So obviously, leadership is hard, and specifically coming in from Bangladesh, where I grew up, right? Coming into the United States, where I was not growing up, I didn't know the culture of this country. So as I talk about people first, as I talk about leading people, for you to be able to lead people, you need to understand them. You need to listen to them. You need to see where they're coming from. If they're saying something, what's behind that? Like, you need to unlayer it, right? And so you get to that. And how do you do that? For me, some of the struggles that I faced early on was this connection. I was a bit hesitant. Do I socialize with people or do I not? Because if you think about it, in Bangladesh, we follow cricket. We are a big fan of cricket. We know, every single match, right? And when you're talking about people, you're really talking about relationship, right? You're talking about trust. And so for you to be a leader, you need to make sure that you have good relationship with your team and with your colleagues, with your seniors. We need to make sure that they trust you, and that you build through connecting at a small talk, not about the business, not about what you contribute, but about all these other discussions. So understanding the culture was challenged. So for me, I tried to learn about some of the sports that happen in the United States. So like American football, which is not the football that we know of. What the international football that we play in Bangladesh is called soccer in the America. Then like baseball, another game. Then there these type of games. I needed to understand, so I could socially interact with people. This was a big challenge for me, because again, as an individual, you can be very smart, very meritorious, but if you cannot have a conversation with your colleague, you're not going to be successful. Your ideas will not be welcome. Your ideas will not be implemented. So this was one of the biggest challenge. And then the second comes with it is that there's no denying, when people see you, they make assumption about you. They think, well, this guy is from, they don't look like me, so he doesn't know us. So then how do you explain to them? How do you show them that you care, that you understand? The empathy is super important, because once you are a leader, the most important thing your team is looking for is that there are three components really. One is this leader capable of leading us? Two is, does he care about us? Does this leader care about us? And three is, does he trust us, and do we trust him? So those are the three components. If those three are not, and that's where I had to prove a lot. So one example, I was placed to be the president of New York distributor. There was for the Anheuser-Busch, covering the New York City. And I walk into this meeting with hundreds of people that have been in the business for hundreds, like 30 years, 20 years, right, depending on the level of experience. And here I was, they can't even pronounce my name, right? Because how many people knows Mohsin, right? They can't say that. So the trust wasn't there. So that was my biggest challenge. I needed to come in and show, hey, look, I understand your problem. I understand the life you as an individual are going through. Therefore, the changes that I'm going to ask you to do, I understand how difficult it is, and I'm going to work with you, and I'm going to empower you. I'm going to give you the tools so that you can be prepared. And by the way, this is going to benefit you. This is going to benefit you financially. This is going to benefit you professionally. This is going to develop you as an individual. And so those are some of the challenges that I faced, and I was able to overcome by being proactive, by taking ownership, by really trying to take an interest in people and listening to them and spending time outside of work, going for lunch or going for a drink or going for whatever.
Then my next question would be, you had been leading organizations in Bangladesh. Now you're leading organizations in the United States. Now, leadership-wise, in your experiential way, what kind of differences do you find in leadership, leading in an organization in Bangladesh and leading an organization in USA?
Excellent question, sir. I think, sir, leading in the United States, as I was alluded to earlier, is that you really have to put people first, and you really have to explain why. You're talking about a change, you have to say why. You're talking about a strategy, you have to explain why. And until people are clear.
He wrote a book, Start with Why. So it's like that.
Yeah. And until, sir, when you are talking to change somebody or you want somebody to do something, until they understand why, they might try to do things because your leader or your manager, you're asking them to do it, but they will not do it with their whole heart. And if they don't do with their whole heart, you will not be successful as an organization. Okay. So that's one of the fundamental difference. And I would say some of the principles that I follow. Example, when I have a meeting and in my meeting, I have people that agree with me, I get concerned. I don't want you to agree with me. I want you to say what is on your mind so I understand. So that, we know that there's a ton of studies that shows a diverse group always leads to a better outcome. A diverse thinking always is better for an organization. So for my meeting and for many of the meetings in our organization, we extensively promote people to talk fearlessly. In my meeting, I always tell my team that don't ever fear that there will be any repercussion for whatever you have to say. As long as you say things professionally, respectfully. I understand we're different people. You would have different perspective. And by default, we know some people are less likely to take risks. Some people are more likely to be joyful and inspiring and motivating. There are some people who are very diligent in managing the detailed work and being correct. So there are different personality, and to have an organization where you have consistent focus on improvement and growth, you need this diverse thinking, and that's something that we promote every time. So I am very careful. If people are joining my meeting that are not talking, I put them on spot. I ask them to participate. If somebody is not, I do not need in my meeting 5 people that share the same opinion as I have, because then they're going to be clone of me. I don't need 5 of me. I need 1 of me. And the other 4, I need to have different perspective. And I think that's very important characteristic of leading people in the United States. And again, the other one is, go ahead, sir, please.
Now, based on your experience, we have a large number of viewers who are like up and coming leaders, those who want to be leaders in the future. Now, based on experience, what are the recommendations or suggestions that you will have for the next gen leaders of Bangladesh?
All right, so I have several, sir. First, I would say that choose what you want to do. Make sure that you love what you do. If you're doing something that you don't love, that you don't enjoy doing, stop and think, am I on the right track? Because you really need to be passionate about. I have personally led initiatives that I was super passionate about, and I have led also things that I was not passionate about. And I can tell you, like, I was way more successful on the topics that I was passionate about. So please make sure that you are passionate about what you do. The next one I would say is really dream big. This is something that I tell my team, I tell people all the time. I think young leaders that are joining our organization is that don't put any limit to your dream. Don't let others define what you are able to do. Don't let somebody say, oh, don't do this, you can't do this. Don't do that. If I listen to the folks when I landed in the United States, some folks told me, forget about study, come, I will give you a job, you can make $3,000. If I did that, I would be still making those $3,000 a month. So do not let other people define your dream. I would go one step further. In our country, in Bangladesh, there's this tendency of parents imposing their dream on their kids. You got to be a doctor, you got to be a lawyer, you got to go join military. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. This is not good, because you're going to hate your parents. You're going to grow up, you're going to do things that you don't like and
Absolutely.
you don't enjoy, and you're not going to be a successful person. I would say take ownership of whatever it is that you're doing. You own it. Don't take your job as a job. Take that as your passion and as your ownership. So when you're not working, it's not we're starting work at 9 and ending at 6 and that's it. You own your work. You care. How can I constantly think about, if it was my business, how would I improve it? What decision would I make? And be persistent. Don't give up. Do not give up, because most of the time people try a few times, they give up and they don't achieve. The difference between successful people and not successful people are either unsuccessful people are not trying because they're afraid that they can't do it, or that they try a few times and they give up. So my advice to young leaders would be, do not give up. Do not let others define, and really have a lot of confidence in you. You have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody will. Once you have yourself believe that I can do this, if nobody can, I can. If others cannot, I can, and I'm going to try. And if you do that, that's going to come through your body language. When you're talking to somebody, you're going for an interview, and the people that are interviewing you, they're seeing that confidence in you, you're going to be successful, right? You're leading a team. Your team sees that you are taking ownership, that you are putting people first, that you have big beliefs and big dreams, and you're actually persistent. Your team is going to believe you, and they're going to follow you. But if you're not passionate about things, you're not going to be genuine. You're not going to be authentic, and that lack of authenticity is going to kill you. So I hope that's a good list.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Mohsin. It had truly been an honor to have you with us in this Sublime Leadership session. I know it's an office time for you, and you had still allocated some of your office hours for us. Our viewers will remain indebted for that. Thank you so very much. We wish you to. Would like to see you in our studio once you are back in Bangladesh. Please let us know. We'll have a cup of coffee together. And on behalf of all members of Sublime Leadership, all the viewers, I would like to thank you once again. Thank you so very much. Good night.
Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it. It was an honor to be able to talk to you and to your viewers. And I'm always willing to talk to you and really help any way I can the people from Bangladesh. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, sir.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum assalam.